we're going to get started. We have a very packed agenda, so we want to make the most out of the time that we have together. And thank you everyone so much for taking the time and tuning in for the info session for Intuit Prosperity Accelerator AI. And my name is Veronica Kwan. I'm the program director here at Highline Beta. And today I'm joined by our amazing speakers that you'll hear from, but we have our entire team as well in the audience today who you will be seeing in chat. You know, the point of today, just a quick overview of what we have lined up for you is, you know, I believe that behind every program, they're great people. And today more than ever, I think it's important to get a sense of these people and just to give you a bit more context into the why behind the program and for you to get to know the team. So we've prepared this agenda for you. We'll start off and kick off with a panel discussion with David Marquis, Kumar Sricharan, and Hussam Ayat, focusing on leveraging AI to power financial prosperity. So this is an overarching theme behind the big why behind the program. Then I will go over just a bit more details on the program, the who, what, when, and how, to give you a bit more context on top of what's out there on the website, essentially. And we're very lucky to have Jesse Abrams from HomeWise today with us, who went through the inaugural cohort in 2020 to share with you what's his experience been like. And Mariana Ridley will be facilitating and having a conversation with Jesse. And we also want to make sure that we have 10 to 15 minutes left at the end and keep it interactive for any questions that you might have about the program. But I do want to say that feel free to use the chat function. If you have any questions, just drop it in there. And I do hope that we get to your answers throughout the sessions, but if not, we are we'll take it at the end of the session and you know, have a conversation around things that you'd like to get clarification on. So that's the plan. And I think that if everybody's ready, we're gonna jump right into it, and no pun intended. And I apologize if you have to hear this again from me, but we're gonna kick it off. It's a welcome/panel discussion. And I'd like to welcome David Marquis, the Vice President and Country Manager at Intuit, Hussam Ayat, my colleague at Highline Beta, the Chief Accelerator Officer, and Kumar Sricharan, the Chief Architect for AI at Intuit, who actually is joining us today from California, if I'm not mistaken. Hi, everyone. Hi, Kumar. Hi, Hussam and David. So how about, just give me a second. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen once I figure out how to do it, okay, which I should know by now anyway. So I think everybody should see you. And so thanks for being here today. And I'd like to start with David. So I think, David, you were really the driving force behind this program in 2020 with the inaugural cohort. So I think it would be really great if you could, you know, tell us what inspired you to start this program, and now looking back, what are some of the key takeaways that, you know, come to mind?
Yeah, of course. And first of all, thank you everyone for joining. I know as startups, your most valuable resource is probably time. So the time you're taking with us today, I really, really appreciate it. So why did we do this last year? And in one word, it was, you know, because of COVID. Intuit's mission is to power prosperity around the world. And that was the very thing that was impacted, you know, for small businesses and consumers in the wake of COVID, was just that financial prosperity survival element. And so we wanted to do something, but we didn't quite know what. You know, it was our mission to work on, you know, a platform that solves financial prosperity challenges for these customers. But, you know, basically the idea came to us, if we do something outside of the ordinary day-to-day, what could that look like given the circumstances externally? So basically we came up with this idea is, you know, the startup ecosystem that we have in Canada or in North America, broadly speaking, could we work with them to actually help startups, help in turn the SMBs and consumers impacted by COVID? So that was the genesis of it. We worked closely with Highline Beta to kind of craft the program. And got to say, it was like a bit of an experiment, but it was a huge success. We saw, just such energy come out of the program, such a mission-driven, purposeful, outcome. And I think a lot of the startups really benefited. I think 3/4 of our first cohort had funding raises or some great partnerships and business growth that came out of it. So it's a passion point for me, and I'm excited about what we can do this year with our new cohort. Oh, I think you're on VK.
Yeah, of course. There's no single virtual event that goes without the you are on mute, I think so. Anyway, thank you so much, David. I just wanted to add something real quick because last year I wasn't as involved in the first cohort, but internally I kept hearing this, that the Intuit prosperity, there's some magic happening there. I'm like, what is this magic? Like and I'm looking forward to actually living through it. And I think bringing everybody together with, united by the same mission, I think that's what really made it magical. So if I can add, thanks, David. So, and then my next question is Hussam. So Hussam, I think you've joined us a couple of, months ago, but it feels longer in a good way. But you're coming to us with a ton of experience, leading, running different accelerators, global, academic, corporate, everything in between. So, and it would be really interesting to hear your perspective on what you think makes this particular program unique. And also thinking of the approach that we use at Highline Beta when it comes to corporate startup innovation.
Absolutely, and thank you, Veronica, and thank you, to the Intuit team and really to the attendance today, the startups. We're really, really excited and thrilled about the prospect of such collaboration and about your interest and about the time, echoing David, that you've put into this. So thank you so much. Veronica, I think this is a great question, which I often have thought about and reflected on the past couple of months as I continue to see the work that we're doing at Highline Beta. I think we do bring definitely a collection of a lot of world-class best practices when it comes to building and running accelerators. But of course, I think that Highline Beta does have a few unique or a handful of unique frameworks, and I would say approaches that it uses to really make the true startup corporate collaboration sort of more productive and produce more tangible results. And really, I think it boils down to the authentic and deep understanding of what the corporate intentions and the innovation intentions and plans are, and what the startups really need. So I think we have the unfair advantage of having the capability of being able to interface, equally strongly with both sides and really understand what both need and are trying to accomplish. And basically that helps us, help both sides co-innovate together effectively. And that leads me to the broader sort of point and to answer your question more broadly. Having worked with startups and corporates and have seen this startup corporate collaboration, happening often, there's obviously a lot of benefits to it. And I would say, Highline Beta is no different in its methodology when it comes to generating those benefits. But I would argue, we probably would have a strong advantage here, and that is due to the fact that we have authentic partnerships. And again, to David's point, I couldn't agree more. When the mission or when the partnership is mission and purpose driven, that usually results in authentic collaborations and results and partnerships, out of that. So when it comes to startups, more broadly, I just want to leave kind of, the audience with this thought. There's a lot of opportunity, for you to consider in terms of, source and stable sort of financial, capital and revenue streams of working with corporates. That's something that you can always, look up to. You can always look up to the sales potential, to the opportunity to collaborate and expand your customer base. Intuit, for example, is not only a great example for that, but is the ideal example. You're dealing with a customer, a whopping 100 million customer base, that could one day, become some sort of an extended partnership for you. And obviously for the corporates, they're looking at a lot of areas of opportunities. So we're really excited and thrilled about this opportunity. And I don't think there could have been a better time for this. So thanks again, Veronica. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, Hussam, thanks a lot. And then one thing that I also wanted to emphasize is that the expert on tap, and for given that this topic this year and the focus on artificial intelligence, we do have expert with us today, Kumar. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, and I did want to, I think it would be really great to start with, if you could tell us a little bit about the role, your role at Intuit, and also tell us a bit how your team has applied AI technology to help consumers and businesses and small businesses. And if you could have an example, I think that would be really great and helpful for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely, Veronica. And first of all, thank you for inviting me to this forum. I'm super excited to be here. So like you mentioned, I'm the chief architect for AI at Intuit, and it encompasses a few different things. One, I think, around standardizing how we deploy AI at scale within the company. But the other is really looking at areas where we can really apply AI to deliver benefit to our customers. And that's an area that I'm really passionate about. And a little bit of history here. So I joined Intuit about 3.5 years back when we were right at the cusp of making the shift from dabbling in AI to going full scale into adopting AI. And the amount of impact that AI has created over the last 3.5 years has just been amazing to watch. So we've applied AI to all the way from smart products, spanning automation and delivering smart insights and advice, where we have literally saved millions of hours across our customer base, in terms of manually entering information from documents to categorizing transactions. All of that work, we've eliminated using AI, to providing smart insights that help them take better stock of their financial lives. We've also applied AI to augment our experts. So we are a big believer that financial lives are complicated and we need human expertise, but that has to scale, obviously, and AI is the tool that's going to let us scale. And we have done a lot of work in helping our experts essentially leverage AI in order to scale to all of our customers. And last but not least, in fact, the very first thing is security. We are dealing with people's money here, and their security and making sure that we minimize fraud is paramount to us. And AI has played a huge role here in essentially reducing fraud at Intuit. And just one example that's particularly inspiring to me is we have this lending division within Intuit. It's called QuickBooks Capital. That's the product. And we essentially cater to small businesses who traditionally get turned away by the standard banks who look at a certain set of parameters. But because we have insight into the transactional level data, which gives us deep insights into how these small businesses operate, we are actually able to offer loans to these small businesses that would otherwise not get these loans. And that's essentially resulted in hundreds of thousands of companies essentially getting that benefit that they otherwise wouldn't. And that's just one small example of how Intuit is really powering prosperity for customers across the world.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kumar. So I have one quick question for all of you, and then maybe if we can get a sentence or two to get different perspective and before we jump into the program. So, and the question is, so why now? Why AI, and why is it important to support small businesses and consumers and help them keep more money, give them confidence, and eliminate any unnecessary work when it comes to dealing with their finance. So maybe starting with David, we'll go in a similar order.
Yeah, you bet. So listen, why now? It's been an interesting year for all of us, right? It's been a tough year, challenging year. But I think as we look forward, there's opportunity. There's opportunity here for us to innovate together and to be a part of the economic recovery, right? And when I think about AI and I think about what we're trying to do at Intuit, which is build out this AI expert-driven platform that Kumar touched on a little bit, and put more dollars in the pockets of our customers, eliminate work and make them more productive, and give them complete confidence that their compliance issues or whatever they need can be addressed. AI can really help on any number of those dimensions. One thing I learned from last year is that when you open up your borders a little bit and you look at, say, working as an ecosystem, as a startup ecosystem, a tech ecosystem, whatever, there's so much power in how you can innovate more broadly. And so when I think of where we are in terms of coming out into this recovery, the opportunities that exist, the fact that AI there's such a powerful lever, but it has to be applied in terms of specific areas and for specific use cases. And it just excites me on the idea that in a cohort like this, or in a that we can have some impact as Intuit on the ability for the ecosystem as a whole to use AI to really help solve prosperity challenges. So I think the timing is really good for us to be looking at this, and really quite exciting.
Excellent. Thanks, David. Hussam, what are your thoughts?
I couldn't agree more with David. Honestly, I think we are in such a unique time. I think, for all the entrepreneurs in the room, having been an entrepreneur multiple times before myself, I think we can all agree that, timing is incredibly important when it comes to your business and starting your business and growing your business. But I think if we look at things in the grand scheme of things, to David's point, the world is in such a unique time right now. We are in a, collective global dilemma on reopening. So you look at, the businesses and the small businesses and the challenges that they're facing, or the individuals and the challenges that they're facing. This is all, in many ways, threatens the financial prosperity of a lot of these businesses, of a lot of these, individuals. And this is, the definition of an opportunity for an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of opportunity for all the innovators out there. And I think it's a perfect time. And I think, although this is a global program that focuses in North America, but, thanks to David's leadership and the Intuit Canada team's, leadership here in leading this initiative, I think we also have a great advantage with Canada, because Canada has been, committed to investing a lot in AI. So we have a very unique also pool of talent, to interact with. So I couldn't be more excited about the timing. I think the confluence of factors of all of the above and all what David, mentioned, is just great timing, for us and for all of you innovators out there.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Hussam and Kumar. Some thoughts, just a couple of thoughts from your perspective would be great as well.
So I agree with all of what David and Hussam said. Let me offer a slightly different take. So for me, I think one of the things that's very exciting is that, I think the scope of problems that AI can address is huge. And my belief is that right now we have only scratched the surface in terms of the problems that we have solved using AI. And I do think we are actually at the edge or at the state of the art in terms of what AI has been able to do so far. And there are a lot of open problems, hard problems that we'll need to solve if we need to truly get to a point where AI can tackle a lot of the financial problems that our customers have, all the way from powering advice to, essentially eliminating manual work. And because this is a sensitive area, because we're dealing with people's money, making mistakes is not okay. And I think that's an interesting nuance in general with respect to the AI field. And my belief is that this is not something that a few individuals sitting in one small pocket of the world can solve. This will truly require, cross collaboration across the entire AI ecosystem. And that's the reason, events like this excite me, because this is an opportunity for us to collaborate and essentially solve problems which should advance the financial prosperity for humankind, which is very exciting for me.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Kumar, so much. And thank you, David, Hussam, and Kumar for joining us again. We're going to take you off the spotlight, but feel free to stick around and chime in as we're kind of going through the agenda. So thanks a lot. That was really great. All right, so I'm just going to go back and share my screen. And so I do want to spend some time, and I saw some questions coming in the chat as well, and we'll make sure that we get to them. If not through the presentation and the fireside chat, we'll make sure we have some time at the end. So I want to, as I'm going through the slides, I don't think it's a good use of anyone's time if I'll just read through them, because most of this information is actually on the website, but I do want to highlight certain things that I believe are extremely important, especially for those who are considering applying and just how to better position your application. So this is a challenge-based program. So the 3 challenges that I think, David have briefly mentioned, and the 3 technology areas that we're looking at. So more money, complete confidence, and no work for the challenge areas, and machine learning, knowledge engineering, and natural language processing for technology interest areas. So we're doing quite a bit of work at Highline Beta when we work on designing this program to align strategically to what Intuit or any corporate partner is looking to achieve. And it's very important as you're kind of putting your application together to create that link on how your solution can potentially impact and help consumers and small businesses to keep more money, to gain confidence when it comes to managing their finances and eliminate any work. And then how is your solution powered or applying any of these type of technologies to bring it to the market, essentially. So I would just strongly encourage you to create that link, or how you potentially, even if you're not currently applying AI, on why are you uniquely positioned and well positioned to do so. So it's very important to have that, and I wanted to keep in mind and put it out there. And then another point is, so again, I'm not going to read through this, but the ideal candidate for the program and who the program is designed for is seed stage preferred. So that's ideal. But again, there's kind of some gray areas around the stages these days. So the most important thing is to look from the lens of the challenge. And if you think that you are at the earlier stage or at the later stage, but you feel like, you know, that what you're building is really aligned with the mission, you can benefit from collaboration with Intuit, and your solution can also benefit from that too. So I would strongly recommend you to apply and just, you know, submit the application, as we're looking through every single application together with Intuit team, because sometimes you never know what's happening, right? Because we can communicate this at a higher level, but sometimes there are certain insights that we can gain from internally from Intuit that can kind of click, right? And then you never know where it can lead. So just keep that in mind. And so in terms of the programming, I do want to let Jesse, who went through the actual program, talk a little bit more and give a bit more color on that. But I will emphasize this point here, the under program takeaways, the accelerated growth trajectory. So the program is designed to be part-time, and we have to do a lot of deep diving into what your growth looks like. So, and it looks very different for every program. And maybe Jesse, you can mention some of the examples and, you know, what it meant for you and maybe other ventures, but it means, you know, raising a fund or getting new customers or entering new markets. And our job is to help you get to that point faster than you would have otherwise without the program. And we do it by, you know, connecting you to the internal experts within Intuit, external experts within Highline Beta, investor and mentorship network. And so our job is to basically get you to that point faster. If it didn't happen, then in my eyes, I just don't think we've done our job. But I would also, again, encourage you to put the questions in the chat so we can talk and a bit more granular on some of those points, but just some things I wanted to emphasize. Okay, and the program timeline. So it's a bit more granular than what we have on the website, as I know that some of you are already in the process of reviewing and applications. So we're running applications until August 31st, and the program starts on October 4th. So that's when the kickoff week happening. There's quite a lot of action happening throughout September. So expect to hear back around mid-September if you made it to the final round of interviews. And the interviews will be set with a cross-functional panel at Intuit and Highline Beta at the week of September 2024. And the program is running from October till February, and demo day, exact date is TBD, March 2022. I think this year it was March 2nd or March 3rd. So this is something we'll work this out as the time kind of gets there. So a few things for you to guys note, but I think Jesse and Rihanna will be able to give you a little bit more context on that. So I'm going to hand it over to them. So Jesse Abrams, the co-founder and CEO of HomeWise, who I've actually met before Intuit, and Jesse is just a gift that keeps on giving, as I call him, and Rihanna, who is the head of partnership at Intuit, so is been there from kind of a glue that holds it all together, and from in the inaugural cohort, and will also be doing this for the second round as well. So over to you guys, Rihanna and Jesse, if you guys can, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Hey, Jesse, how you doing?
Hey, Rihanna, I'm doing great. Looking forward to sharing some stories with everyone today.
Amazing. It's so great to see you again. And I just wanted to quickly say thank you. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to chat a little bit about your experience in the program. As we get started, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and some of the things that you're currently working on at HomeWise?
For sure. So our company, HomeWise, is a digital mortgage company. We actually use quite a lot of AI. So would have been nice to be part of this program as well, but I don't know if we can double dip yet. But we are a B2C consumer focused business and hyper focused on helping consumers across Canada simplify their mortgage experience, save time, save confusion, and save a lot of money. We're a growing team. So I think David touched on this. Some teams raised money during the Prosperity Accelerator. We actually did raise money right at the end of the Prosperity Accelerator. So it was definitely a help in that process and just continually focused on growth and doing things the right way.
Yeah, that's awesome. And of all the applicants, you were one of 8 that we selected, and you touched on how you really helped to save your customers money. And that was one of the challenge areas that we're really focused on last time. And obviously, buying a house is probably one of the biggest purchases you'll ever have in your life. So it was really meaningful that we had you as part of that inaugural cohort. Why don't you give us a little bit of background about your experience and what the program was about, and how that impacted your business?
For sure. So when we first heard about the program, we were exceptionally excited because, we'd been a company that has been living for about 2 years before that time, and getting in the door with big organizations is not easy. And for us, we were sort of at that point where we're like, we need some extra heads to help our business out there. We were probably 10 people at that time. We've now grown to 18 since then, but you're a small business. You're trying to figure out more ways to grow. And that really excited us about the program because you mentioned similar values, and you heard David Hassam mention the word mission. When we looked at a company like Intuit, I actually met a member of the Intuit team at the Collision Conference a year and a half before, and was like, this company is awesome. How do we work with each other? So it was just perfect timing. And being part of the program, it just opened our eyes up that much more in terms of the value of this type of relationship. There's that classic Facebook adage of move fast and break things. I think as a startup, we too often focus on moving too fast and breaking things, and often don't focus enough on our consumer. No matter how much we say we're building a consumer company that's focused on our consumer, our client, and our partners. So being part of the program really helped us with structure, getting a good view into the Intuit strategy, the D for D process. We were set up with 2 ICs, mine were Sonia and Sanjay, who they felt like an extra appendage on our team. It was pretty incredible how they cared so much about what we were doing at all times. And without getting too deep into the day-to-day of the program, it was just an incredible learning experience to better structure our team. And unlike some of the accelerators we've been in the past, where it was just myself, we actually brought other members of our team in. So my CTO joined, some of our tech team joined, some of our AI team members joined. And what I found really cool was when I regrouped with their managers, they all said that they thought was a treat. It was like a value add for working at the company, the fact that they were being able to learn from Intuit and being part of the program. So overall, in a nutshell, we gained a lot, we learned a lot, and we're seeing the effects now, and we think we'll see even more in the future as well.
Awesome, thanks. And you mentioned IC and D for D, and for the folks on the call, ICs are innovation catalysts. They're these unique roles that we've designed specifically for Intuit, and they're meant to champion our innovation principles. And so D for D, or Design for Delight, is the framework by which we innovate. As Jesse mentioned, we paired him with 2 innovation catalysts, and they helped him work through the end-to-end Design for Delight framework, which enabled him to focus on, a customer problem and test and learn his way, specifically with Intuit customers, to learn as to whether or not, the ideas that he designed to help solve for those problems would actually work in real life. And so I'd really like to know kind of what your biggest takeaway was with going through that particular process, and how it helped you to evolve your product and shape the trajectory of your business.
Totally. I think the biggest key learning we got from it was rapid testing, rapid iteration. Rihanna just mentioned we actually did real customer interviews with Intuit customers, which was so cool for me, because you're sitting there with people who know nothing about our business, who were showing literally, if anyone uses Figma is a tool where you could show versions of your website. So we were working on a new application, we were working on a new client portal, and we actually showed different versions of it. And we got to see what were clients' reactions to this, what did they like, what did they not like. And it was so cool for me because I was just a fly on the wall listening into the Intuit team, because I had no idea how to ask these questions of clients. So being with Rihanna, asking those questions and seeing the answers was so insightful. And what was really cool from that is we did that with many customers, and that gained a lot of insights. And then we did actually rapid testing on our end from there. So we took the learnings we had and we built different versions of our applications and then tested market with our customers. And if anyone here has a B2C business, 10% growth is big. And our completion rate on our application increased by 10% within 2 months of going through that. And that is massive, because that is literally doing nothing other than learning. You're not spending extra dollars. And we increased our potential revenue by 10%. And considering we're all tech companies that are getting better at conversion rates, that could potentially be a 15% increase by the end of this year. So that was a huge takeaway for me, was holy moly, we got to be doing better in this area. These are great learnings, but also these are avenues for growth in our business as well that we could take for other products and other lines of business as well.
Awesome. It's great to hear all the success you've had since graduating from the program, Jesse. Outside of the D4D methodology, what was it about the program that really stood out for you?
Honestly, I think it was the buy-in from the Intuit and the Highline data team. I mentioned Sonia and Sanjay, but like Rihanna and I still talk every month now. She helped me write a thing to help me hire a partnerships manager on my team. I even joke, Marcus from Highline Beta, I sent him an email sometimes and he replies before I even press send to help me out. So there's this incredible network on the Intuit and Highline Beta team that was created that is invaluable, because I'm a big fan of just 3 heads are better than 1. And that's really what it is. It's not 2 heads in this situation, because we literally have the Intuit and Highline Beta team as an extension. But not to be forgotten here, and you'll see this as you go through the interview process, it wasn't like we had to be hyper prepared for interviews and nervous. It was an aligning of values. It was basically going on a conversational experience with these companies and feeling like, okay, do we have the same values? Do we care about the same things? Are we speaking the same language? And Rihanna mentioned there was 8 companies that were part of our cohort. I still talk to many of them. I spoke to 2 this week. Another one emailed me yesterday. The network that we created of really smart founders, both with similar type of B2C businesses as ours, but also B2B businesses, has created great opportunities for us to learn from each other, share horror stories, share learning experience, but also with us raising capital and going through that experience, share methods to madness sometimes to help us continually grow as a business and work our way through the venture world.
Yeah, that's great. And I know Veronica mentioned that she heard that this program was magical. And I think, just being part of it for me, just seeing how the startups interacted and engaged and learned from each other and bounced ideas off each other was, in fact, I think really magical, because to your point, it gives you the ability to grow your network and learn, and really create sort of that ecosystem that connects everyone. And I'm glad that, you guys could be a part of that. Last question, Jesse. If you could give one piece of advice to those that are applying and potentially be part of the program, what would that be?
So I always mention the Stanford marshmallow experiment to my team, where 6-year-old kid was given a marshmallow and they could eat it now, but if they waited 15 minutes, they get 2 marshmallows. So many of the 6-year-old kids ate that 1 marshmallow. And I sort of thought about it that way with this program. You could sort of sit on the sidelines and go to the discussion and take from it what you will, and you'll do fine. You'll get your 1 marshmallow. But when we bought in, and we really bought in, and the Intuit team, the Highline Beta team bought in as well. And we legitimately go with 5 members of our team. That's 30% of our staff at that point, coming to meetings to talk with the Intuit team. And that's my biggest suggestion. Buy in, ask for advice, ask questions. Rihanna helped set us up with a member of the IP team to help us talk about some of the AI that we're building, to get questions about that. If we asked our law firm, that would have been like $10,000 out of our pocket to just send an email to them and set that up. So obviously being facetious there, but I think that's the main message I would say is go in eyes wide open, bright eye, bushy tail, and buy into the program, because there's so much opportunity to learn. And speaking to the other founders that were part of the program, we all got something different from it. And that's what's kind of cool about it, is it's very tailored to you as a business. It's not like it's a cookie cutter program. Like we've been in 2 other accelerators where you sit in the same courses as every other startup. It's really not like that. It's more of a tailored experience where you're actually getting valuable, actionable insights for your specific business.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Jesse. Really appreciate you being here again. And we will chat soon.
Thank you.
Veronica.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And that's just something that I wanted to quickly add, as Jesse was talking about, all the support that he got from the ICs, from Rihanna and from the Highland Beta, and my colleagues. Oksana is here as well, who was the lead on cohort 1 too. So I think that one of the, when it comes to collaboration between startups and corporate, is to find that champion right on the other side who can open the right doors, who can make introductions to the right people. From my experience, and I've been a part of different accelerators as well, it usually takes quite a bit of time to find that person. If you don't get that from day one, it takes about a month or 2 to find them, to set up a time. And I think that setting up, this startups with a champion, with Rihanna and ICs from day one, I think that's, to me, is a huge value add. And, bringing everybody together to the table, there's a lot actually that comes out of it. All right, so I think I'm going to keep the video going. I don't want to share my screen yet, so we're just going to get to the Q&A section, because I did want to make sure we have time for that. So Nathan, maybe I saw some questions, but I know we're in a chat, but so that everybody can get the question, maybe would you be able to ask on behalf of the participant, or maybe ask them to ask the question, whatever you think is the best way?
Yeah, sure. I want to just talk maybe a little bit about Riley's question. He asks, how far along in terms of AI does Intuit want to see in an applicant? Just about to build it, going to build it in the future. Yeah.
Rihanna, do you want to take that one, or I can?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I encourage you to apply at any stage. And we will review. I think a big part of the program is, if you're in the midst of building, we could help you with connecting to webinars or, one-to-many expert sessions to help you along with your progress. So encourage you to apply at any stage.
Excellent.
Sweet. I think there was one other question in terms of testing. I think Jesse mentioned it, but there's a question on will Intuit kind of allow startups to test solution integration with QuickBooks and get access to some pilot customers to test with that?
Yeah, good question. So we won't do any data sharing per se, but what we do enable, and as what Jesse kind of mentioned, is as part of the Design for Delight process, we will give you the ability to create sort of experiments and then connect you one-to-one with a subset of Intuit customers who've essentially volunteered to be part of our process. And so you can walk them through your experiment, whether that be a prototype, or an interview, and get those deep customer insights directly from a small group, which will help you to, build out your product or business going forward.
Sweet. Thanks, Rihanna. Just curious, because if I'm a startup, one of the things I'd be curious about is from a time commitment standpoint, what is it?
Yeah, I can quickly, and then Rihanna, feel free to chime in. So I normally say that it's a part-time program, so we really value each venture's time. It's designed to be part-time, so I save between 5 and 10 hours a week. It fluctuates depending on where we are, because sometimes there's some programmatic events with a kickoff in the beginning and demo day at the end. But when it comes to the touch points that we have internally with Highline Beta and Intuit team and the IC, the design for the light execution and the design part, I would just say between 5 to 10 hours. And the content, there is a tailored content piece in there, but it's not that, it's a content-driven program. So before we even try to deploy and connect you to the expert or set any webinars, we first want to understand each individual's needs and what do they need to get, what are the blockers that we can remove, and then we'll see if there's overarching theme. We'll do a monthly, not more than probably per month session. If it's a one-on-one and it's better to be handled via office hours or just a targeted kind of an introductions, we'll handle it that way. So, but 5 to 10 hours a week, as I would say. Feel free to, Ariana, since you guys been through it, and Jesse, just a sanity check there. So that's kind of how I envision it.
Yeah, I mean, from a programmatic perspective, definitely a few hours per week. You'll be meeting with your ICs anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours a week. And then Jesse, perhaps you can speak to kind of behind the scenes work that your team did in enabling the D4D methodology.
Yeah, for sure. So we basically worked on a project, and when you go through the D4D experiment, you're basically saying, okay, what's a challenge that we have? There's something called a LOFA that you guys will learn all about. But we basically figure out these problems that we have and how to solve them. And when we meet with our ICs, it's not like we're just doing menial work that's taking up our time. We're actually getting other team members from Intuit to help us to build out how to improve in this project that we're working on. And when we talk about the work that we do on our team, again, it's all based around building towards a project. So for ours, it was the updating of our application, the updating of our user flow, and the updating of our client dashboard. So every single week we'd be meeting to get insights onto that. And it's actually felt like a very little amount of time compared to some of the other accelerators we were part of, because it was all based around actually driving business results and things that we're working on.
And I'd also add to that, we'll pace you through the program and create milestones, but really it's up to you how much you want to put into it to accelerate that. We had a startup that was part of the cohort dry run that actually got to the point in which they built a product in a period of 4 months, which, is not expected. But they really leaned in and, were really invigorated by the D4D process and the insights that they got from the customers that they were interviewing. And from that, it turned into an actual live product, which is live today. So I'd really say, it's malleable. And you really kind of, to Jesse's point, get out of it what you put into it.
If I may chime in here, because I think this is a very critical point, for entrepreneurs, speaking of time and time commitment, and to piggyback basically on what, Veronica and Rihanna said, and also what Jesse said on the whole idea of buying in, I think, I would encourage the entrepreneurs, and I'm wearing the entrepreneur hat here on, to think of not how much time you're going to commit, because you need to commit and you need to buy in when you want to benefit out of something and accelerate what you do. I would encourage you to think how much time you're going to save by being part of this accelerator, because that's really the whole idea. The whole idea is that, because Highline Beta has designed it to be execution focused, it is designed to save you a lot of time. So yes, you're committing, 5 to 10 hours a week, or it is a part-time engagement, but you're saving, a lot more hours because you're getting to a lot of points faster than you would otherwise. So I encourage you to think of it this way as well.
Thanks, Assam, Rihanna. I just wanted to ask, I think, one more question, and I think Veronica has some other stuff. So, the question that I have is, if in case a company is looking for follow-on funding and from Highline Beta, like what exactly do we look for from the startups?
I can quickly answer it, and then I think there are a couple of questions in the chat that I wanted to get to. But yes, the follow-on funding from Highline Beta comes in at the towards the end of the program when we start assessing investable, if this is something that is both beneficial for the startup and for that fits the criteria. So our thesis is that we invest in startups that have a meaningful collaboration with our corporate partners. So if you're technically going through the program where we would get to know you, we'll get to know your product, if there's a need for it, and if there's a potential growth, and we can explore that towards the end. I can drop in the link in the chat with a little bit more information on the investment criteria or what we're looking for. But in terms of the check size, I know it's up to $300,000 typically for the first check. Software with North American focus. And again, the biggest part is for you to go through one of our innovation platforms. So hopefully that kind of covers it, but I'll drop a link. But I think there are some questions that just recently came in.
Yeah, so one of them is from Nana. Talking a little bit more about the AI component, does it need to be core to the product, or is it something like an add-on? What do you think about that, Rihanna?
So I'd say take a look at the challenge areas. No more money, no time, complete confidence. And if you think your solution supports one of those challenge areas and you're using AI to power it, definitely apply. I think we would definitely consider it as long as it's part of your solution.
Great. And then I think one more question. It's what does success look like going through the program and coming out of it at the end?
Yeah, I mean, success is really based on what you want to make out of it. And I think if I kind of read this question here, you're asking, is there an expectation that you fundraise? There's no expectation, right? We'd love to be able to give you the tools to enable you to advance your business. That really for us is success. If you take something away that helps you raise, or helps you network or helps you to get closer to product market fit, then, that's, to us, that'd be definitely success. And we can help define specific metrics up front that are very much tailored to what you're looking to get out of the program.
Let me also add here, why are we doing this as Intuit, right? And I think I want to take it back to the mission of powering prosperity and doing so with a leverage point of AI towards these kind of goals that we're talking about. We recognize that we're working on a lot of this stuff within our four walls, but there is so much more that we don't have capacity or line of sight to do that we're hoping that the ecosystem does. Because if we can grow the space, if we can increase, like someone was asking, hey, what if we were a competitor of QuickBooks? And for me, it's more about, competition is good, category growth is good, innovation is good in aggregate. And if we can get that out of the system, and if we can be a catalyst, because this is really what this is a catalyst to help startups that are earlier stage grow faster and contribute to the ecosystem. So that's really, for those of you wondering, well, why are you doing this Intuit? Do you want to, was it a product-driven strategy? Is it an acquisition-driven strategy? Is it, what is it? That's basically, is it partnerships? It could form any of those directions in the future, but really the core of the program is about, investing in our broader tech ecosystem and trying to work towards a common goal.
Sweet. Thanks, David. Thanks, Rihanna and Hassam. I think I got all the questions, did I?
There is a question from Ronnie, and I actually would like, Ronnie, maybe if you can unmute yourself and ask that question.
Sure. I would like to know whether we can integrate with you at Intuit, integrate with QuickBooks, and build sort of a marketplace so your customers are getting paid for leads that we create using our AI solution, and we get a fee percentages of every transaction that we make for your customers?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Veronica. I can add on.
No, sorry, so I will just say something that maybe we just need to get a little bit better understanding, right, of what you're building to have a, a discussion of what, or maybe, but I will leave it to Rihanna to kind of talk about the building blocks of integration and what usually kind of comes into play here. Without getting into too much specifics, because I just also want to make sure, and we can totally take that offline as well, but I just want to make sure that the group kind of benefits from, information.
Yeah, Rani, this doesn't necessarily have to be as part of the program, but Intuit does have, an app marketplace that I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but you can build on our app store. And if the solution is vetted and approved by our developer and legal team on the back end, then it can be published. And it doesn't necessarily have to happen during the program, but it's an option. And we can help connect you to the right people within the organization to help you with that build and figure out whether or not the solution fits. And it's free to build on the App Store. So there's no revenue share that goes back and forth as part of that integration.
Okay, thanks. I actually asked about building a marketplace business model with you. So we are getting payments for your SMBs, for your customers, and take a fee only for successful transactions that we created for them. We make them earn more money, but we charge a fee for successful transactions. This is our business model, like we can do with Stripe, for example, but I thought it would be great to work together with you using the program and integrate with QuickBooks. So your customers are getting paid and getting invoices with QuickBooks.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure like what you're thinking about in terms of the integration. Anything outside of the app marketplace would be like a completely separate discussion. It isn't part of the program per se. The program more is, connecting you to our innovation catalyst and helping you, uncover a customer problem and an experiment to sort of test and learn to advance your business. That's in particular what this program will help you with. And again, we can help connect you to the right people within the organization to talk about things outside of that, but it's not the main focus of the program.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ronnie. I think there is a question from Grant about what would you say are the top 3-5 most pressing issues, challenges, opportunities for Intuit in the Canadian market? Maybe if we can try to get to 3.
Yeah, I think this one's easy.
Yeah,
because I think we kind of already covered them in a sense, in that it's really about power and prosperity. It's about, and this thing has been impacted by COVID. And we're such a mission-driven company that we're successful when our small businesses and our consumers are successful, and they're struggling right now. And so that's our mission. That's what we try to do to help. And then I would say the top 3 things are: we got to put more money in their pocket. We got to cut out work so they can be more efficient. And we have to help them. They're small businesses or people. They don't want to spend a whole bunch of time figuring out, accounting solutions or anything in the financial space. They want to run their business. We want to take away, give them confidence, take away the work, and put more cash flow and dollars in their pocket. And that's what our solutions and platform is designed to do. And so I wouldn't say those are new things. They've become even more important since COVID hit. And so we are doubling down on them, but they continue to be the pressing things that we are so focused on, and that we see such an opportunity to work with a broader set of tech ecosystem players to help out. So reduce friction. Yeah, that's part of it. Absolutely. No work is all about taking friction out of the system, making it, and that's where AI plays such a role, right? If you can take out friction, make it seamless, save them time, give them more money, they spend more time on their business, and it's a win-win.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, look, we have about a few minutes left. And I did want to just highlight a few tips and just some thoughts before we wrap it up. Alexia, I see your questions around if there is any platform or any resources that can be shared when it comes to, the surveys. So I don't know, Rihanna, if you have any point of reference. If not, we can follow up with that after the session. I know that there is the D4D in terms of the methodology. There is a website linked to that where you can kind of understand it better and what it means and entails. So happy to share that, but I'm not sure if there's anything readily available on top of that.
I don't believe public facing, but definitely as part of the program. I mean, even one of our webinars last time was focused on how to properly interview a customer and get those deep insights that enable you to craft sort of your main customer problem that you're solving for.
Yes, we are recording this webinar and I'll be sharing it with the attendees. So there is a question. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up, but thank you so much for all these questions. And please, I'm going to quickly share my for some final thoughts. Just give me a quick second here. Okay, so you should see it, right? Okay, so just a few things. If you would walk away with the 6 bullet points, I will be happy. But I think it was incredibly insightful, and thanks everyone for being a part of it and for everyone's questions. So deadline is August 31st. We're about 3 weeks before the deadline. So I would strongly recommend apply early. The application itself should not take more than 20 minutes to complete. But just a second. So, and we do have a couple of touch points with you. So before the final round of interviews. So the faster we receive it, the faster we'll get to know you, and we'll be able to get as many insights as possible from the Intuit team, as well as right now, closer to the deadline, there's a lot more to review. So I strongly recommend to apply earlier so we can get to know you sooner. Review the FAQ section before submitting application. I think this could really make it or break it for some applicants, because there are some examples, right? Even under more money, complete confidence, there are some examples of solutions of that's been already done, or interest of areas that Intuit is looking to explore. Just to give you some examples, this is not an exhaustive list, but I think it's important for you to kind of get a sense on how you can connect that link with your solution and the challenge areas, and demonstrate. It doesn't have to be all 3, by the way. I should have mentioned that. You don't get necessarily extra point if it's like 2 out of 3 challenge areas, but at least 1 challenge areas and at least 1 interest area on the AI side. So make sure that you try to make that link clear in the application form. And the attachment, which is typically a slide deck, I would just encourage you to provide information in there, any additional information that you're comfortable sharing that will help us with the assessment. And if there are any questions following after this session, just feel free to email us at programs@highlinebeta.com. So, and then either myself, Nathan, or Oxy will get back to you, and we're always happy to jump on the call as well. So that's pretty much almost a wrap. But I know we had Jesse today, but I did want to play a quick video, which you might have seen. But it's also nice to get more voices, to hear from more voices and more ventures from past cohort. And then after that, we'll sign off.
The Intuit Prosperity Accelerator has really taught us how to be extremely close to our customers. I think it's really going to help us to build solutions for them by innately understanding their problem and getting as close as we can to it.
The Intuit team has been so collaborative, has just consistently wanted to help us out, and have already given us great insights on how to build our business.
What surprised me about the program was just the engagement at all levels and at all aspects of our business. So I knew we were going to get help in terms of connecting with clients and in terms of product and marketing, but it's gone far beyond that.
Participating in the program was so important for our startup. One of the biggest things we learned was through their Design for Delight program, how to do better testing, get better information back from our clients and our users. If you're considering applying for this program, I would highly recommend it. You'll walk away with some really terrific learnings from not only the Intuit team, but the Highline Beta team, and also to the cohort of other companies that are in the program. It's just an incredible opportunity.